This conference will now be recorded.
All right, everyone. Today is Thursday, January 16th, and as always, everything that we're going to be talking about today is for educational purposes only, and nothing is intended as any type of investment advice. So, coming into the morning, I have a pretty good list going on out there. Definitely have a few show of hands as well today, which is hasn't really been the case too much, but guess what? Doesn't really matter. All that matters is what we have going on this morning. So first thing looking at is XPO. So obviously took a gigantic jump, closing at 82.82 all the way up to our 100 level. And one thing that I always like to see is buying at our highs. Now it's not a ton of buying, but we have to keep in mind what its actual personality during this pre-market has been. And the orders you can see are just non-existent. I mean, they're extremely, extremely thin. Spread isn't terrible unless it jumps around a little bit, but overall, these little prints, it's going to have a big effect on what we're looking for the stock. So obviously, we can see that we had some riders come in after those ask prints to tell us to bring it down a little bit. But we had, I mean, overall, yes, of course, I'm going to always want to see more coming into it, but we definitely have the print sitting up there at that 100, where if we get a trigger, then certainly a high percentage back towards that 100 level. Just keep in mind, remember, party level, psychological level, it's pretty much every type of super level it could be. That's what we have at 100. So it's not typically going to be just a smooth transition to break right above the 100 and have no looking back. So obviously, you are going to be keeping that in mind. On top of the fact that, yes, it's 265,000 shares, but you can see it is kind of trading a bit spotty coming in. So the only kind of concern I would have is the fact that it doesn't normally trade that much volume. On average, it trades about 745,000. So my only one concern about this would be that if volume kind of dies once the market comes into the open because of how big the move has already been made. But coming over $1.82 range on average, so we can definitely expect a lot more than that, considering we already have about a third of our volume for the morning coming out there already. Next thing looking at is QD. So QD coming down pretty much was just in the explanation. Obviously, we can see we have some really big selling that came in above 350. We have great selling that came at 350. So overall, I'm not expecting huge pull-ups off of this. You can see that it really hasn't shown that at all day long. Even coming down to the floor, it's given about 20 cents somewhere in that area. So obviously that's what its personality looks like right now. We're going to expect a little bit more once the market opens. But overall, 1.9 million shares, great volume. It's definitely got a ton of selling that's still coming into it, and then obviously those controlling prints sitting at 350. Next thing, BK. So Bank of New York Mellon Corp. So this is towards the bottom of my list, but the one thing I really did like about it coming into this morning, there isn't much of any type of bigger prints. And we had some at 47 on the ask, but coming down like this, I have to assume that they're covering because of the fact that immediately afterwards, we got a beautiful show of hand that came in at that 47 level. It's got 300,000 shares, but it's not printing basically at all. So when we see something like that, I definitely hold a lot more weight to it because of the difficulty of trade that's coming in. This is towards the bottom of my list just because obviously the way that it looks, it's not trading, smoothly in any way whatsoever, but it has all our variables, and it does have that nice burst of selling that came in 47 at its lows. Morgan Stanley MS. So this has been on a little bit of a tear this morning. On average, move 66 cents. So this is a huge move for it. Now coming back down to where when we saw, obviously it started a lot before 8 o'clock and then a lot earlier. But taking a look at the actual prints themselves as we're coming to the closest level, which would be that 56, we can see we have a little bit of buying that came in, but we actually have more buying over the level than we have had at the level, which is typically an indication that we're going to be looking for it to go up further than really get that big pullback. But overall, we still have to follow our rules. We have prints at 56 that we really haven't pulled back from at all. So I really, obviously would like to see a little, and I'm not expecting a huge one because it's not a huge amount of prints either, but it's another one where it's, even though it's got 1.4 million shares, the orders are pretty thin. It's just, there's definitely orders behind there. We have to understand that, considering, it has to be in order for it to trade this much. So we have some buying. We have buying that keeps coming in near our highs. So it's really showing us that, that it has some more room to go towards that upside. Only other thing, keep in mind, 55 is not an easy level to hold. So the fact that we were able to just break right past that 55, but if you actually look at the volume when it was breaking past, it was pretty good. Okay, so coming in here right before we jumped over, volume wasn't bad at all. Just keep in mind once again that it's a hard thing for it to be able to to be able to hold on to. Now, SDC, we saw coming into this morning, nice burst of selling prints that came in at 14, and then as it's been pulling up, no riders, but more selling. So make sure that you have your shares to short. And that, overall, I mean, it's really showing us that someone's looking to, get out of a position. Then even if we come back over here, you're talking about 7, right before 8, where a lot of people can't trade, 14.26, big selling that came into there as well. So we're seeing a lot of selling coming in this morning, even though as of right this second, the stock's up. It's mostly up based off of that selling that we've seen. SIG, another one where it's a little bit consolidated within its trading coming into this morning, but overall, it's certainly, I mean, it trades $1 on average, but we have to obviously expect more than that, 23 all the way up to our 29 level. This is one that just hasn't really given us much. Not really any type of great controlling prints that came in it. The buying and selling money flow, pretty much for the entire morning has been very, very mixed, even though, once again, it's moving up. Don't get fooled by the trend, because this trend does not have anything that's very stable within it. We need to see something like, like I said, a better show of hand. This 2850 print is not going to do it for us. So need a better show in hand in here, but SIG definitely has the variables to show us for a very big trade coming into this morning. The next one looking at is CETX. So CETX is going to be on our side list. And once again, the reason being is right now it doesn't really have anything that I'm that interested in. But yesterday, as we were coming back up, we did get some buying around that 325 level, that 330, and a little, I mean, nothing at 350, obviously, but a little bit underneath there. So I wouldn't be shocked to see this thing not hold underneath that 3 and kind of give us a run. Just be careful, because a lot of times, especially when it looks like this, that run will be very quick. So it will get, right in the morning, first minute or two, boom, and then we end up seeing it come back down. But as long as we hold our support levels right here, pretty much 250. 250 is when I'll stop pretty much looking at it, because that's going back down to the aftermarket push towards that downside. So nothing great right now, but it's definitely got some variables for us to pay attention to it on our side list. Then other than the QD, we just jumped on some buy. Let's take a look. Okay. Yeah, no, I mean, that's definitely a lot coming in, but that's not shocking at all, considering the fact of how much selling that we saw coming into this thing. Not shocked, but definitely some riders coming back in there. And then obviously keep in mind too, when you have a quick move like that, you're going to have a lot of stops that are going to be getting run. And that's a lot of times that's what we end up seeing. Okay, because you have the people that were short this, and then when it pops up that quickly, you have those stops that came in. So this buying is I still see more selling than I do see buy. Okay, obviously needs to pull up from that. All right, guys, anything else out there that I missed? Anything else out there that I missed? All right, beautiful. So think that is it. Let's get ready for our morning. As always, let's make sure we're focusing on our habits. What are we in the middle of building? What's the biggest thing that we need to focus on to have the biggest effect of our trading? Let's make sure we go over that before we get started and really start to focus on, what we're going to be doing with our game plan as we come into the beginning of the morning. I will talk to everyone in the chat, and happy trading.